So that's an interesting point because I just judged with some of the wonderful Art Center alumni the Best American Car category, and one of the things we were talking about is the idea of American innovation. So a lot of people see that IP with that sort of blade-like thing, and they're like, "Oh, well, that's kind of cool." And I remember that
why'd you do that?
Yeah, well, Ryan Vaughn, who worked on the interior at the launch of the Corvette, said even internally that was a very controversial decision. But I think that gives a great example of how form follows function. You know, it was able to look very unique. It's able to create conversation, which good design is supposed to.
It should be something different, you know. So yeah, I'm glad our stories align.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you know, you can say, well, you got to see through the windshield that way too. So.
Well, that, and I think, you know, you mentioned, we talked about proportion and the differences between a front-engine vehicle and a mid-engine vehicle. Part of that is the driving experience. I tell you, I mean, I've been in very few mid-engine cars, I have to say, over the course of my life, but I tell you, when I first got a chance to hit, like, I think it was a 588 on the Ferrari on the Milford Proving Grounds, and really push it hard, you come to appreciate that proportion, that relationship, where instead of driving out here, like that, you're like right up here. So to have that visibility and all those elements and that packaging becomes so prevalent in terms of its serious nature and incredible impact it has on the overall character of the car, which I think it all adds up.
So obviously we see the coupe, we see the convertible, we know there's a race car. If the past is any indication, we might see some more high-performance road cars coming down, which, you know, the journalist answer they always give us is we don't discuss future product.
No,
but,
but I will tell you that, you know, I mean, this mid-engine configuration, first Corvette, production Corvette in that light, is tip of the iceberg.
That's good to know.
It's a clean sheet of paper.
So the question that goes along with that is, what is your approach when doing these different body styles? So how do you differentiate each model? I mean, obviously by the body style itself, but you keep the family resemblance, but then how do you further build out the differentiation?
I will tell you, it's based on several factors. One is, you want to create differentiation, but for the majority of it is driven by two things, I would think, and from my perspective. One is the function. You know, the powertrain would be different, the proportions, the need for different size wheels and tires, aerodynamics, obviously, because of capability, and then the customer that we're reaching out to, that we would hope that would attract. They're in different roles in life, at different levels of economic structure, and that is key to it. So I must say, it's been my experience that our team is close to the customer and listen to them and respond to them as much as anybody that I'm aware of.
So could you give a specific example between, let's say, since they're here, the coupe and the convertible, other than obviously there's no roof in the convertible?
Right. I mean, as far as differentiation?
From a design perspective.
Okay, well, design perspective, if you look, one of the major differences, we talked about aerodynamics a little bit, and three elements of aerodynamics. One is drag, downforce, and then cooling. Cooling is like huge on mid-engine cars, anybody that knows them. So just an incredible amount of effort was given to that, both in the computer and in the wind tunnel, by the way. But the first thing you notice, there's all these vents on the coupe, all the ways the air can get in and get out. But we look on the convertible, you have a different set of circumstances that some people would say, well, that looks pretty restrictive, but the way the air is channeled differently and how it's executed out that rear vent, it is an incredible, I think, challenge. And to me, what good design is, it's not just styling. Good design is taking a difficult challenge and executing it beautifully. And so I think the team did just a wonderful job of achieving the same level of cooling, but a totally different configuration. So take a look at that. And can I add one more thing here? Just real quick, design-wise. We had a little discussion here in breakfast about sculpting. You know, we utilize all the math resources of the technology. It's just incredible in terms of precision and continuity and beauty. But even in the 21st century here, and we're well into it, there is just no substitute for the human artistry that goes into these vehicles. We go back and forth all the time between, in we call it math world, and then to the hand sculptor. But to have, I think that also contributes to the success of these, and executing these incredible challenges is we have sculptors, both math and manual, working in the clay, that they add this certain human, artistic spirit to these surfaces that you can't get anywhere else. And I think and people resonate with that. So I think that goes right back to what this building is all about. And there's a huge amount of fine art that goes into it, and just sheer talent.
I think that seems to be consensus with most designers, is that as technology improves, a lot of things are being done in the tube, a lot of things are being done digitally, and we even have some examples of design directors from other brands saying, you know, we're going to go all digital, we're not going to need clay in the future. And I see a lot of other designers raising their eyebrows because they say, you know, there is this tactile human element that you cannot replace.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear you affirm that.
I think they're getting closer, and certainly cars have been done 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, all math, you know, all full digital. But to me, there's just something that is quite like, you know, maybe we'll be there one day, and we have some incredible talent in that field.
Any other Easter eggs, stories, anecdotes, funny things that...
Probably the biggest Easter egg on that are the door handles. We drove, you know, I have a reputation at General Motors for ignoring two things. One is budgets and physics. And they're glad to get rid of me because of that fact, you know. But I have to say that the door handle on that's probably the biggest because it's hidden in the design element, which can either be contrasting, you get them in body color as well, too. But that's one. Stay tuned on the Easter eggs. This one, you know, there's a couple of Corvette emblems on this one around, like in the headlamp area. But we love doing things like that, and there'll be more to come on that, so stay tuned.
Any other arguments besides that Blade IP that you can call out?
I don't know if there were arguments. They just got people nervous, and you have to get people to gain confidence and understanding living with something. People don't like change, and except for designers, yeah. I think. So it's difficult, but if you show them the vision, and in our case, what we did was try to get these vehicles, or these different elements of the vehicle, both interior and exterior, and oh, by the way, under the hood, get that represented 3D, full size, as quickly as possible. Then all the folks that you're involved with, and we had an incredible team that kind of understood, but the engineering, the marketing, the people that write the checks for all these projects, show them something new, and then they buy into it and go. The other thing I want to comment on under hood, especially the coupe, because the convertible, it remains sealed because of the controlling the heat, because you can imagine the top being stowed over the engine. You have to seal that off to keep it from the heat, because you don't want that thing, you know, easy bake oven come on your head, so it has to remain cool. But on the coupe, we looked at, you know, initially they had it, I'll tell you a little story, they had it covered with a bunch of expensive carbon fiber panels. I said, why would you spend that money on that? It gets back to genuine materials like we used on the interior. So we actually did motorcycles, including like Ducati, and it wasn't about exotic materials so much as it was execution. Down to every finish, every nut and bolt, the surface that it sat on, evolved in. We drove, we had arguments around structure, because we even had our fingers in structural elements that hadn't had that. Even heat shields, which that freaked out the vendors, because they're used to getting the data, and then you guys make 1 million of these and ship them here, where we got involved with designing the actual waffle heat shield, and that was hard to comprehend. So that was a challenge, but it was all fun. It was just an amazing experience, and again, I'm honored to be part of that.
Well, congratulations, and my only last question for you is, which one are you going to order?
Oh my gosh. You know, I like there's an off-white, they call it a ceramic matrix gray. Oh yeah. That one struck me. It was graphic, but
thumbs up
sculptural. Yeah. That one and but after seeing the convertible out in the street, the convertible is pretty nice.
Tom Peters, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Please
everyone.
check out the Corvette C8. Thank you guys for joining us.